Okay, so let's talk about another way that we can explore our movement with purpose. So they discovered you don't just have to think in terms of actions as having two parts, which again is the two-part model of an action is movement with purpose, right? Movement with purpose, okay? They also discovered that we can also figure out that actions can change. So I can be doing one action, and then there's going to be another action. Now, what's the easiest way to see that there's been a change in action? A change in movement. We can describe certain movements with certain rhythms, right? This describes a movement, right? Is this movement different than that movement? Okay. Now, what caused this movement to change into this movement?
Slight change of direction.
Okay, slight change of direction. Okay, now I'm just doing it mechanically, right? Well, guess what? In life, when we change our movements, it's because something happened to change it. When we change our purpose, it's because something happened to make us change our purpose. So, let's call this the three-part model of an action. Okay, you got the two-part model of an action. This is the three-part model of an action. This is going to describe how actions change, how movements change, why they change, okay? So there are a couple of different ways you can look at it. You can say, for instance, new information. We're talking, and everybody can see that light board, that light panel up there, right? Well, now if we're talking, and now suddenly that light panel falls down, killing the entire second row. Okay?
Yes!
Oh my God.
Do we continue talking? Do we continue talking about our actions? If we did, it would be comedy, right?
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? So, guess what? New information, right? Which stopped to make us change.
Dang.
Okay, now, what goes into that change? There's something that happens that we can observe that's very specific about what happens in that change with that new information. The first thing that happens is a reaction. Now, reaction is very doable, it's very observable. We can analyze exactly what a reaction is. Now, I'm glad that you guys you all know each other and you're all friends, because I'm going to ask you, put down your stuff, and I want you to spread yourselves out as wide as you can. Okay, and this includes your face and your eyes and your mouths, fingers, okay? No sound, okay? And head back, eyes open, and now I want you to freeze. Mouths open. Wider, open, freeze. Okay. That's a reaction. That is a reaction to an atom bomb. Right? That's Daffy Duck. Or Wile E. Coyote. Do you ever watch cartoons?
Yeah.
Reactions, right? So these reactions, they also have two parts. They have psyche, physical. The psychical part of a reaction is unconscious, subconscious. When we have a reaction, it happens so fast, it is not recorded consciously, it's recorded subconsciously. So we can't control the psychical part of a reaction. Okay? So a reaction is reflected mostly physically. The nature of a reaction, which you just experienced, is an opening, a change to light weight, and a freeze. So everybody just do that. You can have a reaction, you just do it mechanically. You're going to open, and you're going to have a change in light weight, and you're going to freeze. There's a reaction. You see all the parts of our bodies that we have that can open? For instance, why do people drop things when they have a reaction? Because it's an opening. A reaction is an opening. Why do a lot of accidents happen when you have a reaction? Because what's the nature of is it conscious? No, it's subconscious. Do you see what I'm saying? Reactions also have an illogical nature to them, which is interesting when you have a Now, see? I'm unconscious, so they can kind of be illogical. So as actors, we know the more illogical our freeze is, the more it helps the audience to know that it's a reaction. Okay? Now, what's good about it for us as actors, because again, the audience can't read our minds, can they? Anybody here a mind reader? No? What number am I thinking of?
3.
Oh. That's the last one. You said that the last time.
Me, it was someone
Oh, it was
else.
somebody else?
7.
Yeah. I faked you out. I wasn't even thinking of a number. Okay.
You
So,
did less than
I know.
2.
Oh, I know. You can't read our minds, but you can read our bodies, right?
Yes.
So the more information we give with our bodies, that is letting the audience in on what's going on. So guess what? If the audience does not see a freeze, the audience does not know that there's new information. Now, we can use that a lot of times. We can use it for comedy, right? Because I'm talking and that falls down and kills you all, and I just keep going on, right? I didn't have new information. I didn't have a freeze. So start to observe now. You start to watch. Animals have reactions. You can see animals have new information. They have freezes, right? Animals do it all the time.
Cats.
Yeah, right. Okay, so an opening, movement into lightweight, and a freeze. Okay?
I have
Yes.
a question.
Sure.
Does it count if someone says something, okay, like they're talking to you and they're like your mother, and then they go, is here, and you do something kind of, is that a freeze, but you still kind of, you know?
Well, it's interesting now that, good, now she's starting to think about it. Okay, now how does this model work? It's possible that, I mean, just in the purest physical sense, if you don't freeze, it's not a reaction, right? That's the sense of it. I think you can prove that you can talk on a reaction, right? Mm-hmm. When you could say, like, for instance, you knew Hitler? You see what I'm saying? So it's possible, right? But again, now you can start working with them. You can start to see. You start watching movies, you'll see some very big actors who react like this. It's not a reaction, because a reaction is an opening. But the point is that you've got the vocabulary for it now, that you can start to observe it. You can start to work with it. You can decide. But what I'm just saying is, usually, you want to let the audience know that there's new information. Now, you can also hustle yourself. You know this phrase when I say hustle? You can set it up, because if you know that there's going to be a freeze, if you know that there's going to be new information, what do you want to make sure is happening before you have your freeze? This is a hint. What would be the easiest way? Movement, right? Because if I know I'm going to have a freeze, wouldn't it be nice to have this movement first? So that I have something to freeze out of? You can start to work with it. Okay, that's the first part. Any more questions?
Well, you could go, you go in movement to stillness, but you could go stillness to movement too, couldn't you?
Oh, I didn't even pay him, right? Because now we're going to go to the second part of the model, right? Remember it's got 3 parts?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. The first part is the reaction. And what's the reaction made up of? It's got 3 parts. The reaction is made up of opening, lightweight, and a freeze. Good. Now, you're in this freeze, right? Okay? Now, why does the body do that? When we open, why do we open? When we have new information. To take in, right? So you see, it's really a survival thing, isn't it? Because when you're in danger or when something's new, you need to be able to take it in, don't you?
Right.
So now, you've taken it in. Now, what are you going to do with it?
Fight or flight.
Okay, fight or flight. Good. Okay, so you gonna follow me here? Do you remember Jackie Gleason?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Yeah? Everybody know Jackie Gleason? Who doesn't know Jackie Gleason? No? Jackie Gleason. The Honeymooners. Did you ever see the Flintstones?
Yes.
Yeah, well that was based on the Honeymooners. And Jackie, you know, he was rather portly kind of a guy, right? Yeah? And what was his wife's name? Alice. Alice, right? Right? And you know, say again?
I said one of these days.
That's right. And Jackie liked to go to the track, didn't he? Now, what did Alice think about him going to the track? Did she like it? Did they have a lot of money? How did he make his money?
Bus.
He was a bus driver, right? They didn't have a lot of money, but he liked it because, you know, he liked certain things. So he said, one day he says, Alice, if you don't let me go to the track, I don't care. I'm walking right out that door. So he starts walking out the door, right? Feeling good? Feeling good, right? Okay, well, what does Alice say? Alice says, oh, yeah, Ralph. Well, you're so fat, you couldn't even fit through that door. Isn't that Ralph's reaction? Isn't that the reaction? What's he reacting to? What's the new information? Oh, yeah, Ralph? Well, you're so fat, you couldn't even fit through that door. Oh, I didn't react, did I? What's he reacting to?
Her calling him fat.
Yeah, uppity wife. This is the 1950s, right? So then what does he do? Does his mind take it in?
Yeah.
So we have the psychical part, right? So there's an assessment. Then there's a weight change. And then there's a movement in relation to the new information. Now, how does he move toward her? Didn't he go, one of these days, pow, and the kisser, right? Right? Now you see, that was his movement. In the past, in classes I said movement toward, but I think it's clearer to say it's actually movement in relation to the new information. Because say for instance, you have this, you're walking along and then suddenly, I don't know, what's a scary thing that's going to jump out at you?
A burglar.
A mugger.
A rapist.
A rapist with a big with a big gun, with a big knife. You're going to have a reaction, aren't you? And then are you going to assess it? And I don't think you're going to go toward it. You understand what I'm saying? You're probably going to go away. Okay? So think of it in terms of movement in relation to the new information. So again, with Jackie, do you see? Freeze, right? Assessment. Weight change. Movement toward. One of these days. One of these days. Make sense? Okay? So that's the second part in terms of this three-part model of an action. The third part, let's call it the influence. The third part is when you actually touch the new information. Now, you don't always complete them, right? You don't always, in terms of, say, the mugger or whatever, you're not going to go and touch them, so you're going to run away, right? So you didn't complete all three parts. But what about sound? Can you touch somebody with sound?
Yes.
Ha. Ha. Right? Ha. So talking, words, you can use just the same way as if you're physically touching somebody. So words qualify as the influence, the actual touching. Now, did I go over that second part clearly enough? The adjustment. So what's the adjustment made up of?
Assessment.
Right? There's a psychical assessment. There is another weight change. And then there is a movement in relation to the new information. Okay? The third part is when you actually touch the new information. And talking qualifies as touching. So when you get a script and you've got all these wonderful lines, what are they giving you in these lines? They're giving you a series of influences. Do you see what I'm saying? The talking, the words are all influences. What do we have to do as actors? What do we have to fill in? The reactions and the adjustments before we talk.
Right.
See what I'm saying? Influence is actually the third part
Which is your words, your dialogue.
Right. So, in essence, technically, words are totally results, right? They're results of new information, which gave us a reaction, gave us a weight change, which gave us a, see what I'm saying? In terms of reaction, adjustment, influence. Start observing now. Start watching when you can see where there are illogical reactions, where there are openings in reactions. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the adjustment. The adjustment is really what reveals your purpose, right? Because it's got movement. It has the how. If you can hold on to that adjustment for a long time, you can stay in an action for a nice long time. Couldn't Jackie stay in that for a long time? And we enjoy it. We enjoy watching because that's where we get to understand the purpose. It's the how you're adjusting yourself. Go back to the bicyclist. Remember you're riding your bike and you're in the bicycle lane and that car door opens up, right? And you crash. Well, when they find you, where do they find you? Okay, and maybe you're laying on the ground. Maybe you're walking around, right? And you're still in reaction. So what do you still have holding? What do you have holding in your hands? The handlebars, right? And you didn't take the handlebars out because you're still in reaction, right? You're still frozen. And people are talking to you and you're saying, yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, everything's fine, right? Because I know that's the nature of this freeze, this reaction. You could even prove it with a character. I don't know. There could be things that can happen that could be so bad to somebody that they can literally, psychically be in reaction for almost the rest of their lives. So again, that's something else to think about when you're playing character. Something that's happened to you that's put you into reaction. You know, it takes you a while to get away from it. That you never quite got out of reaction.
Have you watched Dexter?
No.
Dexter's about a guy who witnesses a really traumatic event, his mother being chopped up in front of him, and for the rest of his life he can't feel anything, and he becomes a serial killer. And so it's an amazing experience as an actor, and I'm watching it just now after taking classes with you.
Yeah, nice.
I'm imagining like what it would be like to go through to create that character, and I mean he's got so many levels because he's always reacting still to this event
right,
in his childhood
nice.
while he's trying to sort of react. to what's
Excellent.
going on.
We enjoy the adjustment because that gives us the purpose. Because that's the quality of the movement. So now start to examine, you guys, how you move, and how you move is going to reveal the purpose. Now, be careful with the models. It's fine to mix them, I think, when you're learning them, because you can contrast them. You know what I mean? You can say, well, I'm in heavy weight, but I'm also, you know, I'm in third circle and stuff like that. But very often they're exclusive, right? Each one of it has its own little world. Each one has its own little rules. Okay, so just use them in terms of, oh, I can come at it from this angle. Oh, that's interesting. Let me look at it from that angle. I think that's what Nick's talking about, right? He says now I can look at it in terms of reaction. But are you guys remember our bodies? How many of you can lift just one eyebrow? Can you do one at a time? But guess what? Yeah, you can do. But that's opening, isn't it? There's a reaction. That's all it takes. New information. What about can you raise your ear? Can you wiggle your ears? Can you? There's a reaction. Reaction. I think it was in Death Becomes Her. But I think Meryl Streep is like this, right? And they tell her something new and she goes like this. Now, why did her elbow go like this? The logical nature of a reaction, right? Is I don't know what my body's doing. There's also a weight change involved. She goes into lightweight, doesn't she? You're dead. Remember? Right? It's an opening. It's a change into lightweight. Well, if I switch into lightweight, I'm gonna slip off. See what I'm saying? Start to watch. You can use it. Okay?